Chapter 205. It's so magical. There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes. He was very interested. Mystic Essence Sword Sect did not have many places like this. Lu Ming only knew of the Phoenix Perch Cave in the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. The royal family that ruled the Blazing Sun Empire had a strong foundation. Brother Tianyun, which one do you want to go to first? Ming Peak asked. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said, the Earth Essence Cave. Sure, I want to go too. Let's go together. Ming Peak was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. The two of you can go to the Earth Essence Cave. I'm going to the Fog Swamp to cultivate a martial technique. I won't be going with you. Pearl smiled. Sister, hurry up and go. Ming Peak urged. You brat, you've just arrived at the Star General Hall. Don't cause trouble. Pearl glared at Ming Peak and left. Brother Tianyun, let's go to the Earth Essence Cave together. Ming Peak shouted excitedly. They could find the way to the Earth Essence Cave just by asking any senior student. The two of them passed through many halls and arrived at a mountain peak. There was a huge stone wall at the foot of the mountain. There was a stone door on the wall and two middle-aged men were guarding the door. The two middle-aged men were just casually standing there, but their bodies were emitting waves of ocean-like aura, unfathomable. What a strong cultivation. They're definitely martial ancestor realm experts. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Everyone said that the royal family had declined. However, it seemed that their strength was not to be underestimated. A martial ancestor realm expert in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect would be a silver-robed elder. Senior, we're going to the Earth Essence Cave to cultivate. Ming Peak walked to one of the men and bowed respectfully. Identity Jade Token. Let me take a look. The man said expressionlessly. Lu Ming and Ming Peak took out their Identity Jade cards and handed them over to the big man. The big man took a look at it and nodded. You can go in. First, exchange for the inscription stones. Only with the inscription stones can you open the secret training room in the Earth Essence Cave. Alright, thank you, Senior. Ming Peak nodded and took out the spiritual crystals. Lu Ming also took out spirit crystals. On the way here, Ming Peak had already explained the situation of the Dun Cave to Lu Ming in detail. From top to bottom, the imperial family had dug out 13 layers of the earthen cave. On every floor, there were cultivation chambers that were filled with fire-attributed spiritual energy. Regardless of whether it was to raise one's cultivation, refine one's jinshi, or cultivate fire-attributed martial techniques, they were all extremely useful. The further down he went, the denser the spiritual chi was, and the better the effects. However, it was impossible for them to let people cultivate there for free. Inscriptions were carved into every secret room. Only the imperial family's inscription stones could open the secret rooms and allow people to cultivate there. The inscription stone cost 30 spiritual crystals. Of course, the further down he went, the more inscription stones he would need. How many inscription stones do you want? The middle-aged man asked Ming Peak. One piece is enough. Ming Peak said. On the first floor of the Earth Essence Cave, one inscription stone was enough to open a secret training room and cultivate there for a month. Ming Peak took out 30 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. Then, the middle-aged man handed Ming Peak a fiery red stone that was engraved with inscriptions. How about you? How many inscription stones do you want? The middle-aged man asked. Let's exchange for 100 first. Lu Ming said casually. Ah. What? 100? The two middle-aged men were shocked. Ming Peak also widened his eyes. 100 inscription stones would cost 3,000 spiritual crystals, which was equivalent to 30 million taels of silver. Lu Ming was so young. How could he have so many spiritual crystals? Lu Ming smiled. His fingers glowed and a jade box appeared. Rows of spiritual crystals were neatly stacked in it. Lu Ming took out 3,000 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took them and then took out 100 inscription stones and handed them to Lu Ming. Go in and cultivate. The two middle-aged men finally smiled. The stone door opened and Lu Ming and Ming Peak walked in. As soon as they entered, they could feel the rich spiritual qi of the fire attribute. After walking for about 100 meters, a huge underground cave appeared. The surroundings were neat and tidy. It was obvious that it was man-made. There were secret training rooms around the cave. The doors of the secret rooms were closed. Some of the doors were shining faintly, which meant that someone was cultivating inside. Those that were not shining on the doors meant that no one was cultivating inside. In the middle was a cave entrance. As they walked in, they saw a spiral staircase below the cave entrance. This was the first floor. If they went further down, they would reach the second floor. Brother Tianyun, which floor are you going to cultivate on? I'll cultivate here. Ming Feng said, his voice faintly revealing a look of envy. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth here is not very rich. Let's go down. Lu Ming said. Go down. But my inscription stones. Don't I have them here? I haven't thanked you for telling me so much. Let's go down together. I'll treat you. Lu Ming smiled. Treat me? Really? Then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Peak was overjoyed and did not stand on ceremony at all. Ming Feng's youthful temperament was genuine and he did not beat around the bush. He took the lead and went to the second floor. The space of the second floor was not smaller than the first floor. The layout was almost the same as the first floor. However, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was richer. Lu Ming could almost feel the blazing spiritual qi of heaven and earth wrapping around his body as if it was going to drill into his body. The Earth Essence Cave is indeed worthy of its reputation. This is the outside of the secret room. If I cultivate in the secret room, my cultivation will probably improve 10 times faster than outside. Moreover, it will definitely be very useful to cultivate fire-based martial arts. Even the comprehension of fire force will be very useful. I made the right choice to come today. Moreover, this is only the second floor, and the spiritual qi of heaven and earth essence is so rich. It is said that there are 13 floors in the Earth Essence Cave. I wonder what it will be like if I go all the way down. Lu Ming thought to himself. Brother Tianyun, in this floor, you will need 3 inscription stones to cultivate in a secret room for a month. Ming Peak said. Let's continue. Lu Ming smiled and went to the third floor. Ming Peak hurried to follow. On the third floor, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was even richer. On this floor, Lu Ming's eyes moved because he saw 5 or 6 young men sitting cross-legged in the middle of the floor. Although the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was rich in the open space outside, it could not be compared to the secret room. What were these people doing sitting outside? Ming Peak seemed to have thought of something and his face changed. He whispered to Lu Ming, I heard from my sister that in the Earth Essence Cave, some people don't have spiritual crystals to exchange for inscription stones, so they specialize in robbing other people's secret rooms. When someone opens a secret room, they will rob it. Oh? Lu Ming nodded. Chapter 206. Then, he scanned the room. There were more than 20 secret rooms around him. More than 10 of them were lit up. It was obvious that someone was cultivating in them. 6 of them were dimmed. Lu Ming looked around and walked towards a secret room. The 6 young men sitting in the middle saw Lu Ming walking towards a secret room and their eyes lit up. I've never seen this kid before. He's probably a hothead. Could it be that he just arrived? I've waited for a few days. Finally, someone is here to open the secret room. I'm going to snatch it. The 6 young men all thought in their hearts. Big brother Tianyun. Ming Peak was a little nervous as he followed behind Lu Ming. After all, those who dared to snatch someone else's secret room were definitely ruthless people. Lu Ming didn't care and took out 9 inscription stones. The secret room on the third floor required 9 inscription stones to open. There were a few pits on the stone door. Lu Ming placed the 9 inscription stones into the pit. The stone door instantly shone. Then, there was a creaking sound and the stone door opened. This secret room is mine. In your dreams. I'm the first one here. I've been here for 7 days. This secret room is mine. You're the first one here. In your dreams. The secret room belongs to the strong. Get out of here immediately. When the door of the secret room opened, the 6 young men all stood up and shouted. They all wanted to take the secret room for themselves. As for Lu Ming's thoughts, they directly ignored them. Who would care about someone who looked like he had just arrived? Clang! Clang! The sound of weapons being unsheathed rang out. The 6 of them actually drew their weapons and confronted each other. You want to fight with me? You're courting death. Boom! At this moment, the aura of one of the pockmarked young men burst out. Judging from his aura, he had actually reached the 4th level martial master realm. The other 5 young men's faces instantly changed. Pockmarked Lu, you actually broke through to the 4th level martial master realm? When did this happen? One of the young men shouted in shock. You didn't expect it, did you? I've already broken through. Let's see how you're going to compete with me. Now get the hell out of here. I need this chamber to consolidate my cultivation base. Lu Motzi shouted coldly, and his powerful aura surged violently in the cave. The other 5 had ugly expressions on their faces, but they didn't dare to refute. Most of them were in the 2nd or 3rd layer of the martial Grand Master realm. They were not a match for the 4th layer of the martial Grand Master realm. Damn it, I've waited for 7 days and finally found a hothead. Looks like I've waited for nothing. A tall young man shouted in a low voice, extremely displeased. He helplessly retreated and stood to the side. The others fell silent for a moment before retreating one after another. Pockmarked Lu laughed loudly, looking majestic and proud. Then, he turned to Lu Ming and said, Boy, I want your secret room. Also, if you have any inscription stones, hand them all over and get lost. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't make things difficult for you. 4th layer martial grandmaster. When Pockmarked Lu revealed his cultivation base, Ming Peak didn't feel nervous anymore. He muttered and looked at Pockmarked Lu with a strange expression. Lu Ming had easily defeated a group of geniuses in the 3rd or 4th layer of the martial Grand Master realm with one move. Pockmarked Lu was nothing to him. Ming Peak had already started to mourn for Pockmarked Lu in his heart. How pitiful. Looking at Pockmarked Lu's arrogant expression, Ming Peak muttered in his heart. Are you sure you want to do this? Don't you want to think about it? Lu Ming looked at Pockmarked Lu and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Nonsense, what's there to think about? Stop talking nonsense and wasting my time. Pockmarked Lu shouted. Since that's the case, fine. Hand over your storage ring and scram. Lu Ming said indifferently. What? What did you say? Pockmarked Lu was stunned, thinking that he had misheard. Hurry up, I don't want to repeat myself, Lu Ming said. Kid, you still want my storage ring? I think you're crazy. Let me cure you. Pockmarked Lu burst out laughing. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Bang! Following that, the others heard a loud explosion. Then, they saw a figure flying backward and landing heavily on the ground, screaming in agony. It was Pockmarked Lu. The other 5 young men were stunned. Pockmarked Lu was defeated. Most importantly, he was defeated too quickly. They didn't even see how he was defeated. Whoosh! Lu Ming moved like a ghost and appeared in front of Pockmarked Lu. He stepped on Pockmarked Lu's face, causing it to fall heavily to the ground. Pockmarked Lu screamed in agony. The other 5 young men felt a chill down their spines and a toothache. An expert, so this is a peerless expert. Luckily, I didn't make a move just now. It's all pockmarked Lu's fault. If it weren't for him, I would be the one suffering. I have to thank pockmarked Lu. The other 5 young men were secretly relieved. Their palms were sweating. Now, hand over your storage ring. Lu Ming looked down at pockmarked Lu and said indifferently. Yes, I'll hand it over. Pockmarked Lu screamed and handed the storage ring to Lu Ming with trembling hands. He wanted to die. He thought that he had gotten a good deal, but in the end, he suffered a double loss. I'll never fight for the secret room again. You're such a scammer. Pockmarked Lu screamed in his heart. Lu Ming took the storage ring and moved his foot away. Get lost. Yes, yes. Lu Motzi scrambled to his feet, trying to get up and leave. Click. At that moment, the door of a secret room opened. Whoosh! With a flash, a silhouette emerged from within. It was a man in his 20s. He wore a black robe and had a cold expression. As soon as he came out, his eyes scanned the surroundings. Bai Long, it's Bai Long. The other young men's faces changed when they saw the black-robed young man. Who has an inscription stone? Hand it over quickly. My time in the secret room is up. I need to continue cultivating and break through a martial skill. Bai Long yelled. His eyes were like lightning, and he did not hide his powerful aura. 5th layer martial master. This young man is actually a 5th layer martial master. Suddenly, Bai Long's gaze landed on the secret room behind Lu Ming. The secret room that just opened is perfect for me. After saying this, he strode toward the secret room. Lu Ming moved slightly and blocked in front of Bai Long. This secret room is mine. Bai Long was startled. He looked at Lu Ming and said with a cold smile, yours? Give it to me now. Although he said, give, his tone was overbearing and domineering. It was a direct command. I'm sorry, I won't give it to you. Lu Ming said calmly. Won't give it to you? Kid, it seems like you don't know who I am. I'll say it again. I'm going to cultivate my martial skill in the secret room. If I'm delayed by you and my martial skill fails to break through, can you bear the responsibility? Bai Long said coldly. If you need a secret room, open it yourself. Don't talk nonsense here. It's none of my business if you need a martial skill. Get lost, I still need to cultivate. Chapter 207. Bai Long's face instantly darkened. Although this kid has some strength, he's really a hothead. He dares to talk to Bai Long like that. He's finished. Lu Motzi was about to leave, but he stopped at this moment. Seeing Lu Ming talking to Bai Long like that, he laughed in his heart, taking pleasure in Lu Ming's misfortune. It would be a lie to say that he did not resent Lu Ming for what he had done to him. However, he was not as strong as Lu Ming, so he could only swallow his pride. Now that he saw that Lu Ming had provoked Bai Long, he was naturally overjoyed. He hoped that Bai Long would teach Lu Ming a lesson. The others were similar, taking pleasure in Lu Ming's misfortune. Kid, what did you say? Bai Long's face was cold as he asked in a deep voice. Are you deaf? I told you to get lost. Lu Ming repeated. Ha. Bai Long laughed out of anger. A cold killing intent erupted from his body as he looked at Lu Ming ferociously. Kid, in this outer hall, no one has dared to talk to me like that for a long time. You're the first. It seems that I haven't made a move for a long time, and some ants are about to overturn the sky. Today, I'll teach you an unforgettable lesson. After saying that, he took a few steps forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming in an instant. Boom! Bai Long punched out, and a terrifying whistling sound immediately rang out. This punch was extremely shocking. The fist force rolled out, and even a mountain would be shattered. Bai Long's lips curled into a ferocious smile. He wanted to break all the bones in Lu Ming's body with this punch. In the world of martial artists, strength spoke louder than words. It was normal to draw a sword and kill if there was a disagreement. I didn't want to make a move today, but there's a group of people who are courting death. Lu Ming whispered and waved his palm at Bai Long. The moment he waved his hand, a long spear condensed. Whoosh! The tip of the spear pierced through everything. Bai Long's terrifying fist energy was pierced through like tofu. Ah! Bai Long screamed and retreated rapidly. Lu Mozi and the others were shocked. They hurriedly looked at Bai Long and sucked in a breath of cold air. There was a hole in Bai Long's fist. White bones could be seen and blood flowed out. The hole went straight through his arm, as if it had been blasted open. It was extremely terrifying. Bai Long was trembling all over. His face was pale and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. He let out a low growl. With this little ability of yours, you're still acting like you're about to explode. I'm really speechless. Now, get out of here. Lu Ming coldly shouted. Brat, you win, but today's matter isn't over. Just you wait. Bai Long roared angrily and then fled in a sorry state. Why are you still here? Do you want to be like Bai Long? Lu Ming looked at Lu Mozi and the others with a half-smile. Lu Mozi and the others' expressions changed drastically. They were almost scared out of their wits. Lu Ming was too powerful. He crippled Bai Long's arm in one move. How could they afford to offend such a ruthless person? Let's go. I'll leave right away. Lu Mozi shouted and quickly walked up the stone stairs. The others followed closely behind. When they reached the second floor, Lu Mozi stopped. Lu Mozi, what's wrong? Haven't you been taught a lesson yet? Do you want to stay and be tortured? One of the young men sneered and gloated. Shut up. Lu Mozi shouted coldly. His face was extremely gloomy. Although that brat is strong, he's brainless. He even dared to hurt Bai Long. Now that Bai Long is injured, he'll definitely go back and ask his elder brother, Bai Qi. Once Bai Qi comes, that brat will be dead. Of course, I'll stay and watch the show. As soon as these words came out, the other young men's expressions changed. That's right. Bai Qi is one of the top 10 outer hall experts. With him here, that brat is doomed. I'll stay and watch the show too. The young men spoke one after another. Then, they sat down cross-legged on the second floor and waited for Bai Qi's arrival. The third floor. Brother Tianyun, you're so powerful. When can I be as powerful as you? No, I'll be happy if I can be half as powerful as you. Ming Peak looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Now, Lu Ming was his idol. As long as you work hard, you'll soon catch up with me. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the secret chamber. He sensed it carefully and then shook his head. Although the fire attribute spiritual qi in the secret chamber was rich, it did not meet Lu Ming's requirements. He needed to continue down. Ming Peak, this secret chamber is for you to cultivate. Lu Ming said. For me? Brother Tianyun, what about you? Ming Peak asked. I want to continue down. This place isn't very useful for me. Lu Ming said. Alright, then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Peak's eyes lit up with excitement and walked into the secret chamber. Brother Tianyun, I'll close the door and cultivate. Ming Peak shouted. Seeing Lu Ming nod, he pressed a button and the stone door of the secret chamber closed. On the other hand, Lu Ming continued to head down. Soon, he arrived at the fourth floor. 27 inscription stones were required to open a secret chamber on the fourth floor. In the middle of the fourth floor, there were two people sitting cross-legged. When Lu Ming came down, the two of them looked at Lu Ming maliciously. Obviously, they wanted to snatch the secret chamber for themselves. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and shook his head. Then, he continued to walk down to the fifth floor. The two young men's faces changed as they watched Lu Ming walk down to the fifth floor. Their eyes flickered, but they did not follow him in the end. Those who could cultivate on the fifth floor were not weak. Many of them were even disciples of the Star General Hall, experts above the 7th level of the Martial Master realm. Lu Ming walked down the stairs. When he approached the 5th floor, the power of inscription acted on his body, preventing him from continuing. Lu Ming's body shook and the power was defeated. It seems that without a certain cultivation, you can't cultivate here. Lu Ming smiled. When he stepped foot on the 5th level, Lu Ming felt waves of scorching and violent fire attribute spirit energy surging from all around him, causing his skin to feel a little numb and itchy. No wonder there was an inscription. The fire attribute spiritual chi here is too hot and violent. If an ordinary person is hit by this spiritual chi, they will die. If a weaker martial artist cultivates here for a long time, their meridians will be burned. However, this spiritual chi is suitable for me. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were more than a dozen secret chambers around the 5th floor. About half of them were occupied. There was not a single person in the open space. Here, no one had snatched the secret chamber. Lu Ming walked to a secret chamber and took out 81 inscription stones. That's right. On the 5th floor, one needed 81 inscription stones to open a secret chamber and cultivate for a month. He inlaid the inscription stones on the stone door. The light opened and Lu Ming walked in. After walking in, he closed the stone door. When the stone door closed, the walls of the secret chamber flowed with inscriptions. The inscriptions glowed and the fire attribute spiritual chi in the secret chamber became denser. The inscription array in the secret chamber helped to absorb and gather the spiritual chi between heaven and earth. The fire attribute spiritual chi here seems to come from the depths of the ground. Chapter 208. There were a total of 13 levels in the earth element cave. The further down one went, the denser the fire element spiritual chi. It was said that the further down one went, the fire element spiritual chi was not the only thing. There were other things of a deeper level. The 13 levels were not natural. The Burning Sun imperial family had spent a lot of manpower to excavate them. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could only excavate the 13th level. It was impossible for him to continue down. It was said that the last 2 levels were excavated by a peerless martial king of the Burning Sun imperial family in ancient times. Others could not even go down. Lu Ming heard all this from Ming Peak. What was below the 13th level? Countless people in the Burning Sun Empire were wondering, but no one knew the answer. Lu Ming shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He sat down cross-legged and started to cultivate using the true dragon fighting technique. The fire element spiritual chi around him was absorbed into Lu Ming's body. The scorching fire element spiritual chi was constantly converted into genuine chi. The scorching aura could also refine genuine chi and make it more condensed. Lu Ming realized that the speed of cultivation here was more than 20 times faster than outside. 1 day of cultivation here was equivalent to more than 20 days outside. Although the cost was huge, 80 inscription stones were equivalent to more than 2,400 spiritual crystals, the effect was worth it. Especially for martial artists who needed to break through their bottlenecks. They would have a higher chance of breaking through their bottlenecks here. Lu Ming's bloodline was now at level 6. However, the speed of absorbing spiritual chi was as fast as a level 9 bloodline. It was terrifyingly fast. The spirit-devouring bloodline was activated. Lu Ming's body was like a whirlpool, constantly devouring the surrounding spirit energy of heaven and earth. Whoosh whoosh, Lu Ming circulated his true chi. The true chi in his meridians transformed into many small dragons that seemed to be material, swimming in his meridians. The vortex in his dantian spun continuously like a nebula. Just like that, Lu Ming was immersed in his cultivation. A few hours later, at the 2nd level of the earth element cave. They're here. Suddenly, Lu Mozi's eyes lit up and he shouted. The others looked at the entrance. 2 figures walked in. One of them was Bai Long. At this time, one of Bai Long's hands was wrapped in a thick bandage. Beside Bai Long, there was a young man with a cold expression who looked 50 to 60% similar to Bai Long. Bai Chi really came. Lu Motzi and the others looked at the young man with deep respect. Bai Qi was one of the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level of the Martial Master realm. However, his battle prowess was extremely terrifying. It was easy for him to kill 7th-layer martial grandmasters. Many inner hall students were not his match. He was a peerless genius. They couldn't compare to him at all. Bai Qi glanced at Lu Motzi and the others indifferently before heading to the 3rd floor. Let's go and take a look. Gritting his teeth, Lu Motzi followed him down to the 3rd level, followed by the others. When Bai Qi and the others arrived at the 3rd floor, they saw that there was no one there. Speak, where is that little bastard? Bai Long's eyes were extremely cold as he stared at Lu Motzi and the others. We don't know. We were also chased away by that kid. Lu Motzi's face changed greatly. It seems that he has already entered the secret room to cultivate. Second brother, do you still remember which secret room it was? Bai Qi said. His voice was calm, but there was a hidden murderous intent, causing Lu Motzi and the others to shiver involuntarily. That room, that's right. Bai Long pointed at the room that Lu Ming had opened previously, which was also the room that Ming Peak was cultivating in. Alright, does that kid think that hiding in the secret room is useful? Even if he is hiding in there, I will still blast him out. Bai Qi sneered. Boom! Then, he attacked and slammed his palm on the stone door of the secret room. A violent tremor sounded. In the secret room, Ming Peak was cultivating. Suddenly, an earth-shattering boom sounded. His body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Who is attacking the stone door? Damn it! Ming Peak roared. Boom! Outside, Bai Qi slammed his palm again, causing the stone door to tremble. Lu Motzi and the others were shocked. Bai Qi was really audacious. There was a rule in the Star General Hall that no one could attack the door of the secret room because it would easily cause the person inside to go berserk. But now, Bai Qi completely ignored this rule. This was the confidence that came with being strong. In the secret room, Ming Peak gritted his teeth. But the sound of the bombardment continued as if it was endless. An hour later, Ming Peak could no longer endure it. I want to see who it is. I will report him to the elders. Ming Peak roared, opened the stone door, and walked out. Bai Long, it's you again. As soon as the stone door was opened, Ming Peak saw Bai Long finally out. Why is it you? Where is that kid? Which secret room is he in? Bai Long stared at Ming Peak and said coldly. Why should I tell you? Also, you attacked the stone door and violated the rules of the Star General Hall. I will report you, Ming Peak shouted. But before he could finish his words, he felt a strong gust of wind attack him. The speed of this gust of wind was far beyond his imagination. There was no way he could dodge it. Slap! Ming Peak's face was heavily slapped. Ming Peak's body flew out. So much nonsense. Speak, which secret room is that kid in? Bai Qi retracted his palm and asked coldly. I don't know. Ming Peak struggled to get up and shouted. You don't know? You still dare to be stubborn? Bai Qi's eyes revealed a cold murderous intent. With a flash, he appeared beside Ming Peak and stepped on Ming Peak's face, causing Ming Peak's face to collide with the stone floor. Do you know now? Bai Qi asked indifferently. Roar! Ming Peak let out a beast-like roar and struggled angrily. He shouted, I said I don't know, and I mean I don't know. If you have the guts, kill me today. Otherwise, I will definitely take revenge. Big brother, it seems that he is not lying. I have seen the secret rooms here before, and there are no more than one. I guess that kid went down. Bai Long said. Went down. Bai Qi furrowed his brows. If it went down, it would be troublesome because they did not know which secret room Lu Ming went into. Without knowing which secret room it was, he did not dare to attack recklessly. Especially from the 4th floor onwards, everyone was an expert. If he attacked the wrong room and provoked other experts, things would be troublesome. Bang! Bai Chi kicked Ming Peek away and said disdainfully, "A martial master, like an ant, wants to take revenge on me? Fine, I will wait for you." After saying that, Bai Chi looked at Lu Mozi and the others and said, "You guys, guard here. When you see that kid come out, immediately report to me." This, Lu Mozi and the others hesitated. "What? Do you want to refuse?" Bai Chi stared at Lu Mozi and the others with an unfriendly expression and said coldly, No, we will definitely guard here. When that kid comes out, we will report to you immediately." Lu Mozi hurriedly nodded in agreement. Okay. Chapter 209. Puff. After Bai Chi left, Ming Peek spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Hee, Ming Peek clenched his fists tightly. Because he used too much force, his nails pierced into his flesh, causing blood to seep out. "Bai Chi, I swear I'm not human if I don't take revenge for this." Ming Peek's eyes were red. With a roar, he staggered upwards and left the Earth Yuan cave. Lu Mozi and the rest waited there. 3 days later, in Ming Peek's dormitory, Pearl and Ming Peek sat opposite each other. Bang! Pearl slammed the table heavily and said with a gloomy face, "Bai Chi, you've gone too far. Sister, I'll definitely take revenge for this." Ming Peek gritted his teeth and said. After 3 days, his injuries were much better, but there were a few broken bones in his body. It was not something that could be healed in a few days. "Little brother, do you really want Big Brother to take action?" Pearl asked. "That's right. Only Big Brother can take revenge for me," Ming Peek said. "Big Brother is focused on cultivation and keeps a low profile, so he's not listed in the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace. However, you and I both know his combat strength. It should be enough to deal with Bai Chi, but Big Brother is in seclusion now. I'm afraid you'll have to wait." Pearl pondered for a while and said. "It's okay, I'll wait. When Big Brother comes out of seclusion, he'll definitely take revenge for me," Ming Peek said. That's good." Pearl nodded. Lu Ming knew nothing about what happened in the outside world. He was focused on cultivation. Every day, apart from cultivating the true dragon fighting art, he comprehended the power of fire. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Lu Ming had gained a lot in this 1 month. Cultivating here for a month was equivalent to cultivating outside for more than a year. In close to 2 years, Lu Ming had properly condensed his true qi. Not only had he eliminated all the hidden dangers left behind by his rapid advancement, his cultivation had also steadily advanced, step by step reaching the peak of the 4th layer of the martial master realm. There was no other way. Lu Ming needed too much energy to increase his cultivation, and Lu Ming's main goal was to lay down his foundation. Therefore, his progress was very slow. However, Xiao Chen's true qi was full and smooth. He had already reached the limits of the 4th grade martial Grand Master. He was only a step away from the 5th grade martial Grand Master. Lu Ming was still very satisfied. His power of fire had also made great progress. Although it was still far from reaching great accomplishment, it had been steadily advancing. He had taken a large step forward from the foundation of small accomplishment. If I have time in the future, I should come here more often to cultivate. This is only the 5th level. I'm sure that the levels below will be even more effective. Lu Ming pondered. Then, the stone door opened. It was time. Lu Ming walked out. Then, he went up. When he reached the 3rd level, Lu Ming was slightly stunned because Lu Mozi and the others were still there. "It's that kid." He came out. When Lu Mozi and the others saw Lu Ming, their eyes lit up. "He really doesn't change," Lu Ming muttered. Then, he looked at Ming Peek's secret room. The stone door was dim. Obviously, no one was cultivating inside. Ming Peek should have arrived at the secret room a few minutes earlier than me. Logically speaking, if he came out, he should have waited for me. Why don't I see him now? Could it be that he came out early? Lu Ming thought in his heart. That's not right. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed because he saw some faint palm prints on the secret room's stone door. Although the palm prints were very dim, how could they escape Lu Ming's eyes? Lu Ming remembered that there was definitely no such thing before. Could it be that something happened to Ming Peak? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He suddenly turned around and looked at Lu Motzi and the others. Stop right there. At this time, Lu Motzi and the others were trying to escape. Lu Ming roared. They were so scared that their faces turned pale and they had to stop. Let me ask you, where is the person in this secret room? Is it the young man who came with me? Lu Ming asked coldly. This we don't know. Lu Motzi's eyes flickered and he stammered. There must be something wrong. The expressions of Lu Motzi and the others made Lu Ming even more certain. Tell me, what happened? If you don't tell me, you can't leave. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly and his killing intent burst out. Lu Motzi and the others felt cold all over and were scared to death. Finally, they told him everything. Boom! An extremely powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. The violent genuine qi was raging in the cave. Bai Long, Bai Qi, damn you! Lu Ming whispered in an extremely cold voice. Speaking of which, Ming Peak was still implicated by him. He must get revenge for Ming Peak. Big brother, this has nothing to do with us. We are here because Bai Qi forced us. Lu Motzi said in a trembling voice. Cut the crap. Lead the way to Bai Qi's residence. Lu Ming said coldly. Ah! Lu Motzi and the others were stunned and then they were shocked. It turned out that Lu Ming was going to find trouble with Bai Qi directly. Well, this guy is really arrogant. Take him to Bai Qi and let Bai Qi teach him a lesson. Let me vent my anger. Lu Motzi thought in his heart and then quickly nodded in agreement. Immediately, Lu Motzi and the others led Lu Ming to Bai Qi's residence. Just 10 minutes before Lu Ming ended his cultivation, a tall young man carrying a saber on his back walked into Ming Peak's residence. Ha ha ha, little brother, you finally joined the Star General Hall. I have been busy with my cultivation and didn't come to see you. Don't blame me. The moment the young man walked into Ming Peak's room, he laughed loudly. Beside the young man was Pearl. Big brother, you are out? When Ming Peak saw the young man, he exclaimed in joy. Yes, I'm out. It's been a long time. Let me see if your cultivation has improved. The young man had a smile on his face as he sized up Ming Peak. After taking a look, his face changed slightly and he said, Little brother, you were injured some time ago. As the saying goes, it takes 100 days to recover from a serious injury. Ming Peak had many of his bones broken a month ago. Even if his cultivation wasn't weak, he still couldn't recover to his peak in a month. Naturally, the young man saw through it at a glance. Big brother, you have to help me. At that moment, Ming Peak cried out. What happened? The young man frowned. It's like this. At that moment, Ming Peak told him what happened. Bai Qi, what a Bai Qi, you are merely ranked 10th in the Outer Hall's top 10 experts. How dare you be so arrogant? It seems that I, Myongcheng, have been cultivating hard all this time. It's time for me to move my muscles and bones and let others know how powerful I am. Myongcheng's face darkened as he said coldly. Let's go. Take me to Bai Qi's residence. I will get back at you. Myongcheng waved his hand. Big brother, I know where Bai Qi lives. Pearl said. Then, the three Ming siblings went to Bai Qi's residence together. As one of the Outer Hall's top 10 experts, Bai Qi lived in a completely different place from the other students. He had his own courtyard, which was right behind the other students' pavilions. Soon, Myongcheng, Ming Peak, and Pearl arrived at Bai Qi's courtyard. Bai Qi, get out here. Chapter 210. His voice rumbled and spread throughout the entire dormitory area. The entire dormitory area was shaken all of a sudden. What? Someone asked Bai Qi to come out. Who is this person? Why is he so arrogant? Could he be one of the top 10 outer hall experts? Bai Qi ranks 10th among the top 10 outer hall experts. Only the other top 10 experts dare to call him that. There's a show to watch. Let's go and have a look. Suddenly, figures flashed out from the pavilion of the dormitory and headed towards Bai Qi's courtyard. Soon, there was a circle of figures outside Bai Qi's courtyard, and the number of people was still increasing. Where did this blind dog come from? Do you want to die? A loud roar came from Bai Qi's courtyard. Then, the gate of the courtyard opened and 4 or 5 figures walked out. The one in the lead was Bai Qi, and Bai Long was also by his side. It had been a month, but Bai Long's arm had not recovered and was still wrapped in a thick bandage. At this time, Bai Long glanced around. It was obvious that he was the one who roared just now. Then, his eyes fell on Ming Peak. Little bastard, it's you. What's wrong? Didn't I teach you a lesson last time? You want to die now? In that case, I'll fulfill your wish. Bai Long grinned hideously. Whoosh! Slap him. Suddenly, Myongcheng moved. In a flash, he appeared in front of Bai Long and slapped him. He was so fast that even Bai Qi could not save him in time. Slap! Bai Long was sent flying by the slap. The scene suddenly fell silent. Isn't that Myongcheng, the martial arts maniac? How dare he slap Bai Long in front of Bai Qi? Yes, Myongcheng, the martial arts maniac, used to cultivate into a demon. I didn't expect him to be so bold. Bai Qi is going crazy. I wonder if Myongcheng can handle him. Sounds of discussion could be heard all around. Myongcheng, right? Do you know the consequences of doing this? Bai Qi's face was extremely gloomy as he looked coldly at Myongcheng. You hurt my brother, why didn't you think of the consequences? Now I gave him a slap, which is considered light. Now it's your turn. Let me see what means you, one of the top 10 masters, have. Myongcheng stared at Bai Qi, his eyes flashing with a crazy desire to fight. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out from his body. The aura of a peak 6th layer martial master. Bai Qi's pupils slightly shrunk. Soon after, he coldly smiled and said, so you have the cultivation of the peak of the 6th level of the martial master realm. No wonder you dared to cause trouble in front of my door. However, today I will tell you that although we are both at the peak of the 6th level of the martial master realm, the difference in battle strength is like heaven and earth. You will regret your actions today. Boom! A powerful aura also erupted from Bai Qi's body. It was also the aura of a peak 6th layer martial master. The two auras collided, stirring up a gale. Ha, then let's fight. Myongcheng laughed wildly. His battle saber was unsheathed, carrying a terrifying saber light. The saber light turned black and soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. 8 desolate battle saber. Myongcheng roared and slashed out. The terrifying saber light violently slashed towards Bai Qi. As soon as the saber was slashed out, a terrifying saber intent filled the entire place. Everyone felt a terrifying pressure. So strong, too strong. Someone roared. Bai Qi's pupils suddenly shrunk and he shouted, White Snake Dragon Palm. As the palm blasted out, the space shook. A huge white snake condensed, hissing towards the sky and rushing towards Myongcheng's saber light. An earth-shattering vibration sounded. Bai Qi's body shook and he was shaken back. As for Myongcheng, he did not move at all. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Myongcheng, this martial madman, is actually so strong. Bai Qi was beaten back in one move. It seems that we have underestimated Myongcheng before. Some people just don't like fame, they are not necessarily weak. Now it seems that the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace are not necessarily the strongest. That's right. Of course, there were also people who disagreed. Bai Qi was just careless just now. He may not lose. It's too early to say this. Someone retorted. Everyone was discussing, but Bai Qi's face was extremely gloomy. Bai Qi, it turns out that your strength is only like this. It's really disappointing. From now on, your title of top 10 experts of the Outer Palace will be mine. Miangcheng laughed. The battle has just begun. It's too early for you to be happy. You are not qualified to defeat me. White Snake Dragon Palm, Dragon Transformation. Bai Qi roared. His genuine qi surged and his hands were filled with dense white light. He blasted out a palm and a huge white snake appeared. As soon as it appeared, it changed rapidly and finally turned into a huge white dragon, pouncing towards Miangcheng. Dragon, it really turned into a dragon. Everyone's heart trembled when they saw this scene. Bai Qi's combat strength was really amazing. With such combat strength, not to mention a martial artist at the peak of LV6 martial master, even a LV7 martial master would not be able to withstand it. Insignificant skill. I will defeat you in 30 moves. Miangcheng sneered and slowly raised his saber with both hands. At this moment, a huge saber was formed. The huge saber was dark like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It slowly slashed towards Bai Qi. The huge saber and the white dragon collided. The white dragon roared and opened its mouth to bite the huge saber. However, the huge saber shook violently and the terrifying saber light was shocking. Boom! In the end, the huge white dragon was defeated and turned into energy and dissipated. However, the huge saber did not stop. White Snake Dragon Palm, 10 dragons in one palm. Bai Qi roared and clapped with both hands. Roar! Roar! At this moment, 10 gigantic white dragons appeared and roared as they charged towards Ming City. 8 Wasteland Saber, fight! 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 Miangcheng's battle intent was shocking. He slashed his saber wildly, displaying the domineering and powerful strength of a swordsman. At this moment, Lu Ming, Lu Mozi, and the others just arrived. Someone is fighting Bai Qi. Who is it? How can he be so powerful? Pockmark Lu sucked in a cold breath. That's Miangcheng, the martial madman Miangcheng. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. It's amazing. Fortunately, I didn't offend him before. Another young man said. Miangcheng. His surname is Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. He glanced around and saw Pearl and Ming Peak. I wonder what's the relationship between Miangcheng and Pearl and Ming Peak. Lu Ming thought. At the same time, he walked forward and the true qi in his body surged out. The people in front of him unconsciously moved aside. Lu Ming walked forward and stood in the crowd to watch. Boom! 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 The rumbling continued. Miangcheng and Bai Qi fought for more than 10 moves in the blink of an eye. However, Miangcheng became more and more powerful and Bai Qi gradually lost. Ah! Bai Qi roared, but it was useless. He was completely suppressed by Miangcheng. 8 Wasteland Saber, break heaven and earth. Miangcheng made the last slash. This slash condensed all of Miangcheng's battle intent. This slash seemed to be able to destroy everything. As the saber slashed down, Bai Qi roared furiously and retreated at top speed. Everyone could see that a wound had appeared on Bai Qi's body, and it was dripping with blood. Bai Qi's face was pale. Chapter 211. Miangcheng, a martial arts madman who usually kept a low profile and only knew how to cultivate, actually had such a strong strength. He said that he would defeat Bai Qi within 30 moves, and then he defeated Bai Qi within 30 moves. It was beyond everyone's expectations. Bai Qi, is this all you've got? It's really disappointing. From now on, you are out of the top 10 experts, and your ranking will be inherited by me. Miangcheng said loudly. Bai Qi clenched his teeth and his face was livid, but he couldn't refute. He was originally ranked 10th among the top 10 experts. Now that he was defeated, he should naturally withdraw from the top 10 experts and be replaced by Myeongcheng. Also, you are not qualified to live in this courtyard. You have 3 days to move out. Myeongcheng laughed. What? Don't go too far. Bai Qi roared. Go too far. Why didn't you think so when you beat my brother? It's nothing more than thinking that you can bully others at will because you are strong. Now, my strength is stronger than yours. So what if I bully you? Myeongcheng was very strong and sneered. You, Bai Qi was furious, but he had nothing to say. Haha, second sister, little brother, let's go. Myeongcheng laughed and turned to walk out. Humph, why aren't you arrogant now? Trash. Ming Peak curled his lips and looked at Bai Qi and Bai Long contemptuously. Bai Qi and Bai Long were so angry that their mouths were crooked and their eyes almost popped out. Myeongcheng and his siblings passed through the crowd. The people around saw that Bai Qi was so embarrassed and gloated. Bai Qi and his brother usually offended a lot of people. What are you looking at? If you look again, be careful that your eyes will be gouged out. Bai Long roared and swept his gaze across the crowd. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but lower their heads, but their hearts were filled with disdain. Just now, in front of Myeongcheng, why wasn't he arrogant? Now that Myeongcheng was gone, he started to be arrogant. Bai Long's gaze swept over the crowd. Suddenly, his eyes widened and revealed a ferocious expression. He pointed in Lu Ming's direction and shouted, "It's you, you little bastard, it's all your fault. Big brother, it's this bastard who injured me that day." Bai Long pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. The people around Lu Ming were horrified. They hurriedly took a few steps back, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. In this way, Lu Ming was exposed. This is the kid. Bai Qi looked at Lu Ming, his eyes full of cold murderous intent. Yes, at this moment, his murderous intent towards Lu Ming was incomparably strong. He believed that the reason he ended up like this, being defeated and humiliated by Myeongcheng in public, was all thanks to Lu Ming. If Lu Ming hadn't injured Bai Long, he wouldn't have gone to the Earth Element Cave to find trouble with Lu Ming, injured Ming Peak, and attracted Myeongcheng here. At this moment, he blamed everything on Lu Ming. His murderous intent towards Lu Ming was even stronger than towards Myeongcheng. Damn it, this kid deserves to die. Bai Qi roared. Senior Bai, we've brought the kid you wanted. At this moment, Lu Motzi squeezed out of the crowd and said to Bai Qi, little bastard, come here, kneel down and kowtow to me 100 times in public to apologize to me. Hurry up. Bai Qi pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. He wanted to get back at Lu Ming for the humiliation he suffered today. He also wanted to let others know that he, Bai Qi, was still a powerhouse that everyone respected. Lu Ming's lips suddenly curled into a sneer. How could he not see through Bai Qi's intentions? He was treating him as a pushover. However, was Lu Ming a pushover? Lu Ming casually took a step forward, looked at Bai Long, and said, "What's wrong? Didn't you get taught a lesson back then? Now you want to be taught a lesson again?" Bai Long's face showed a hint of malevolence, and he said, "Kid, today I'm going to take back 10 times what you did to me." Take back 10 times? Just by you, or just by your big brother who was easily defeated just now? Lu Ming smiled faintly, and glanced at Bai Qi in an instant. Bai Qi's face changed and became extremely ugly. The muscles on his face trembled violently, and his eyes revealed an extremely cold murderous intent. He regarded the incident just now as a great humiliation, but Lu Ming still brought it up now. This was a scar that was reopened in public. Faint gasps could be heard from the audience. Lu Ming was too bold. He actually dared to say that about Bai Qi in public. It's over. Everyone thought that Lu Ming was finished. Bai Qi would never let him go. Sure enough, Bai Qi's face was ferocious. He looked at Lu Ming and said in a cold voice, "Little bastard, if I don't break all the bones in your body today, I'm not Bai Qi, change it to idiot." It's very smooth, isn't it? It's also very compatible with you. Lu Ming said with a smile. Ah, you're courting death. Bai Qi couldn't bear it anymore. He roared and pounced on Lu Ming. White Snake Dragon Palm. As soon as he made his move, Bai Qi used his ultimate move. A giant white dragon roared and pounced on Lu Ming. A fierce aura surged out and filled the audience. Many people felt the terrifying pressure and retreated with a change in expression. Although Bai Qi was defeated by Myeongcheng, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. His strength didn't weaken and was still terrifying. Everyone was shocked. They knew that the reason why Bai Qi was easily defeated by Myeongcheng wasn't that Bai Qi was weak, but that Myeongcheng was too strong. That kid won't be smashed into a meat patty, right? Many people had such a thought in their minds. Insignificant skill. A faint voice came from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, Lu Ming's hand glowed and condensed a long spear. He swept it out. Bang! The long spear swept across the giant white dragon and smashed it into pieces. Bai Qi groaned and his expression changed. He retreated rapidly and took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize himself. The crowd was stunned and their eyes widened as they watched this scene. Bai Qi retreated. He was actually pushed back by Lu Ming. How was this possible? Some people even rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they had seen wrongly. What dragon palm? I think it's more like insect palm. Lu Ming said lightly. You. Take this. Bai Qi was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He roared and continued to pounce on Lu Ming. White Snake Dragon Palm, 10 dragons in one palm. Bai Qi struck out with both palms and used his strongest move in the fierce battle with Myeongcheng. I'll defeat you in 3 moves. Lu Ming roared and moved his hand. The demon-suppressing spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust his spear and the demon-suppressing spear turned into 10 spear shadows. They were so fast that it was as if 10 bolts of lightning had appeared in the sky. Then, 10 roars sounded in the sky. The 10 giant white dragons that Bai Qi blasted out were all defeated by Lu Ming. This is the first move. Next, the second move. Before the crowd could be shocked, Lu Ming used the second move. Whoosh! The black demon-suppressing spear pierced through the air and stabbed towards Bai Qi so fast, too fast. Chapter 2:12. But puff! Lu Ming's long spear pierced through, and the palm power completely collapsed. Bai Qi's expression changed drastically, and he frantically retreated. Shwa! Shwa! Outside the crowd, Myeongcheng, Pearl, and Ming Peak had returned, and were rapidly rushing over. Evidently, they had heard the commotion and returned. That's Big Brother Tianyun. Big Brother Tianyun is too strong, he actually forced Bai Qi to retreat. Ming Peak cried out in surprise. Pearl also looked on in surprise. And Myeongcheng's eyes were filled with shock. The third move. Lu Ming's faint voice came from his mouth again. Xiao! The third spear pierced out. On the tip of this spear, there was a faint azure light and a nimble, elegant, and extremely sharp aura spread out. The space seemed to have been pierced, and an azure mark appeared. There was only a mark, but no spear. It was too fast. Puchi! Bai Qi did not even have time to react before Lu Ming's spear pierced through his shoulder, and directly pinned Bai Qi to the ground. Everyone present was stunned. They were completely unable to react. Ah! Ah! Only when Bai Qi let out a shrill scream did everyone come to their senses. Immediately, there was the sound of people sucking in cold air. 3 moves, it really was 3 moves. Lu Ming had pinned Bai Qi to the ground. Too strong, he was really too strong. Everyone roared in their hearts. Even an idiot could see that Bai Qi did not have the power to fight back in the hands of Lu Ming. Where did this young man come from? His strength was too terrifying. Today, there was a Myeongcheng who defeated Bai Qi within 30 moves. This made everyone realize that the so-called top 10 experts of the Outer Palace were not invincible. There were many hidden experts in the Outer Palace. Then, Lu Ming made his move, which was even more exaggerated. He nailed Bai Qi to the ground in 3 moves. This made everyone even more certain that there were many experts hidden in the Outer Palace. Force, that's force, what he used just now was the force of wind. Suddenly, someone shouted. In the outer hall, there was no lack of experts. Naturally, there were people who recognized the power of wind that Lu Ming displayed. Lu Ming had indeed used the power of wind just now. Using the power of the wind, Lu Ming's spear speed was extremely fast. What? It was actually the power of the wind? How old is he? Furthermore, he is only a martial Grand Master, yet he has already comprehended force. How terrifying! Genius, a peerless genius. Even in the 5 great sects, he is a rare peerless genius. There was an intense discussion in the surroundings. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He had only comprehended the power of wind recently. If everyone knew that he had also comprehended the power of fire, and that he had already reached the small success stage, how shocked would they be? Force, Big Brother Tianyun has already comprehended force? In the crowd, Ming Peek's mouth was wide open in shock. Second sister, little brother, he is the Tianyun that you were talking about? He is indeed a peerless genius. Ah, I must spar with him in the future. Myongcheng grinned and said, his eyes flickering with excitement. How could this be? How could this be? Impossible, impossible. Bai Long looked at this scene in a daze. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He kept muttering, as if he could not accept this. Nothing is impossible. There are so many genius experts. What can trash like you brothers count for? Lu Ming said indifferently. He really did not put a genius like Bai Qi in his eyes. He estimated that Bai Qi's level of genius, if placed in the Mystic Essence Sword sect, would be similar to the top 10 on the bronze list. With his current combat strength, facing a genius of this level, there was no difficulty in fighting across a few levels. Ah! Bai Qi roared and struggled with all his might. His eyes were filled with humiliation. What are you shouting for? I forgot to tell you that I have a strong point, and that is, I like to return what others want to do to me. Just now, you seem to have threatened to break all the bones in my body, hee. Lu Ming laughed. His voice was not loud, but it made people feel a chill. They could not help but tremble all over. Bai Qi's eyes were filled with horror. He shouted, no, don't, Buzz. Lu Ming's palm shook and the long spear suddenly trembled. A powerful force gushed out of the long spear and rushed into Bai Qi's body. Crack crack, Bai Qi's body made a sound like beans being fried. Bai Qi let out a shrill scream. All the bones in his body were instantly shattered by Lu Ming. Everyone was shocked. Then, a bone-piercing chill spread out from their backs. Ruthless, too ruthless. Lu Ming actually broke Bai Qi's bones. But there were also a large number of people who were extremely happy. They completely agreed with Lu Ming. This was how a martial artist should be. Lu Ming's eyes were calm, without the slightest trace of pity. If he was defeated today and fell into Bai Qi's hands, Bai Qi would definitely break his bones. If he was not ruthless, others would be ruthless to him. In this world, the strong preyed on the weak. Big Brother, on the side, Bai Long's body was trembling non-stop. His face was pale without a trace of blood. Even his voice was trembling. Lu Ming's eyes swept over him. Bai Long shouted, no, and directly collapsed on the ground. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted coldly. Bai Long's body trembled. He suddenly struggled to get up and was about to run out. Get back here and take your big brother away. Lu Ming shouted. Bai Long hurried back, supported by Qi, and staggered away. Big Brother Tianyun, you are really amazing. I admire you so much. At this time, Ming Peek squeezed into the crowd and ran toward Lu Ming. Behind him, Pearl and Myongcheng followed. Ming Peek, I implicated you before. You were injured by Bai Qi, Lu Ming said. How can you blame Big Brother Tianyun for this? It's just that my cultivation state is too weak. Moreover, didn't Big Brother Tianyun teach Bai Qi a lesson today to avenge me? Ming Peek said. Cough, cough. Behind Ming Peek, Myongcheng coughed a few times. Ah. Of course, my beloved Big Brother also taught Bai Qi a lesson and helped me vent my anger. Thank you, Big Brother. Ming Feng rolled his eyes and quickly said with a smile. You! Myongcheng scolded jokingly. Then, he looked at Lu Ming, cupped his fists, and said, I'm Myongcheng, the big brother of Pearl and Ming Peek. I just heard them talking about you. I didn't expect that Brother Tianyun is really a peerless genius. I admire you. Brother Ming, you flatter me. I was just lucky. Lu Ming said with a smile. Brother Tianyun, you don't have to be so modest. How about this, let's exchange pointers some other day, how about it? Myongcheng looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Ming Zhu and Ming Feng, on the other hand, revealed an expression of as expected. Sure. Lu Ming didn't refuse. Good, good, ha. Myongcheng laughed. Let's go, I feel that we are fated to meet Brother Tianyun today. Let's drink, my treat. Myongcheng laughed. Lu Ming didn't refuse. In the imperial city, it was always good to make more friends. They found a restaurant and drank. When they returned, it was already late at night. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, an old man came to Lu Ming's dormitory. Tianyun, my young master wants to see you. Chapter 213. Your young master? Lu Ming was stunned. Who would invite him? Could it be another student of the general hall? Lu Ming frowned, wanting to reject. The old man smiled, Young Master Tianyun, you don't have to be in a hurry to reject. My young master said that he is an old friend of yours. Old friend? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. How could he have any old friends in the imperial capital? Suddenly, Lu Ming thought of a person, Hua Qi, but he was in disguise now, changing his name to Tianyun. How could he be Hua Qi? Lu Ming was very curious. All right, I'll go with you. Lu Ming thought for a moment and nodded. Please. The old man smiled. Lu Ming and the old man left the general hall. There was already a luxurious carriage waiting at the entrance of the general hall. The horse in the carriage was not an ordinary horse, but a flood dragon horse. It had a strong physique, a horn on its head, and was covered in scales. It was said that the flood dragon horse had the bloodline of a flood dragon and could travel 10,000 miles in a day. It was an extremely precious mount. And this carriage was pulled by 3 flood dragon horses. The owner of the carriage was definitely not ordinary. After boarding the carriage, the coachman shouted and the carriage rushed out like a whirlwind. Lu Ming sat in the carriage, it was very stable and did not feel the slightest bit bumpy. The old man sat opposite Lu Ming, not saying a word, and closed his eyes to rest. Soon, the carriage stopped. We're here, young Master Tianyun, please. The old man opened his eyes and smiled. Lu Ming nodded and walked down the carriage, but he was shocked by the scene in front of him. They stopped at a wide square, and there were many carriages parked in the square. Each carriage was very luxurious, and the ones pulling the carriages were mostly strange beasts. In front of the square, there was a very majestic building, with high walls and dazzling gold and jade. On the high walls, at the entrance, there were rows of armored soldiers patrolling, each of them emitting a strong aura. This is the Imperial Palace. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he was slightly taken aback. Young Master Tianyun, please. The old man raised his hand and said. Who is your young master? Lu Ming frowned and asked again. The old man smiled gently and said, To be honest with you, young Master Tianyun, my young master is the current 8th prince. Eighth Prince? Lu Ming was surprised, he had never heard of the Eighth Prince. Young Master Tianyun, please. The old man said again. All right. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he spoke. Regardless of whether he was the Eighth Prince or not, he would meet him. Lu Ming was not a timid person. Following the old man, he easily walked through the palace gates and headed inside. The imperial palace was simply too big. There were countless pavilions, terraces, and pavilions. Armored guards patrolled back and forth, and the place was heavily guarded. Lu Ming could faintly feel that there were many powerful auras hidden within, like sleeping dragons. Once they erupted, it would be extremely terrifying. Lu Ming's heart trembled. It seemed that the imperial palace was not as weak as the rumors said. They were still powerful and should not be underestimated. Following the old man, Zhang Xian wandered around for some time before finally arriving at a residence. The courtyard was very big and hundreds of flowers bloomed, their fragrance filling the air. In the middle of the courtyard, there was a small lake. The lake water was clear, like a mirror. There was a pavilion beside the small lake. At this time, there were a few exquisite dishes and wine on the jade table in the pavilion. In the pavilion, a slender figure wearing a purple dragon robe with a jade belt around his waist stood there. He had his hands behind his back facing Lu Ming and the others. He looked at the small lake, as if he was thinking about something. The old man came to the back of the figure, bowed and said, "Your Highness, young Master Tianyun has arrived." The figure moved slightly, as if he had reacted, and then slowly turned around. When he saw the person's appearance, Lu Ming's pupils shrank. Hua Qi, this person was Hua Qi. Hua Qi was the Eighth Prince. Wasn't the imperial palace surnamed Hua? However, there were so many people with the surname Hua in the world. He had never thought that Hua Qi would be a member of the imperial palace, let alone the Eighth Prince. Lu Ming, long time no see. The Eighth Prince said with a smile on his face. Lu Ming was startled, then he cupped his fists and said, "Eighth Prince, I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. My name is Tianyun, not Lu Ming." Hua Qi smiled and said, "I was there when you fought with Bai Qi yesterday. Lu Ming, you can hide it from others, but how can you hide it from me? Especially your temperament during the battle, how can others imitate it?" Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Although he had disguised himself, Hua Qi was too familiar with his expression and voice, so it was difficult to hide it. Crack crack, Lu Ming's body wriggled, his bones moved, and his body returned to normal. He then wiped his face, revealing his handsome face. "Hua Qi, I didn't expect you to be the Eighth Prince of the Blazing Sun Empire," Lu Ming said with a smile. "So what if I'm the Eighth Prince?" Hua Qi sighed, then waved his hand and said, "Lu Ming, come, have a seat, let's have a drink." The two sat opposite each other, and Hua Qi poured Lu Ming a cup of wine. Lu Ming did not hold back and drank it in one gulp. "Lu Ming, I've heard about you. The Mystic Essence Sword sect is really disappointing." Hua Qi drank a cup and sighed. What's there to be disappointed about? I'll destroy the Duanmu family sooner or later. As for you, as the Eighth Prince, I really don't understand why you're in the Mystic Essence Sword sect? Lu Ming laughed and asked. Hua Qi was silent for a long time before he sighed. "Lu Ming, I'm sure you know about the history of the imperial family and our current situation," Hua Qi said. Lu Ming nodded. The imperial family of the Blazing Sun Empire used to be so powerful that even the 5 major sects had to tremble in front of them. Unfortunately, the royal family suffered a great loss due to the internal strife. The sects rose to prominence, especially the Shifang Sword sect. They were so ambitious that they took control of the former emperor. They used the name of the rightful ruler to rule the world. That was how they rose to prominence so quickly. In the past 800 years, they dominated the Burning Sun Empire and became the most powerful sect. However, the imperial family is the true imperial family and we can't be controlled by a lowly sect like the Shifang Sword sect. At this point, Hua Qi's eyes flickered with a shocking light. It was a kind of persistence and conviction. But then he sighed and said, "Unfortunately, the people of the Blazing Sun Empire only know about the 5 major sections. Almost all the geniuses have been recruited by the 5 major sections. So the imperial family established the Star General Hall to cultivate their own forces?" Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he asked. "That's right," Hua Qi replied. "It's so obvious that the Shifang Sword sect doesn't know about it." Lu Ming asked. "Of course the Shifang Sword sect knows about it, but maybe they don't care and think it's useless. There's another reason. The imperial family isn't weak and the Shifang Sword sect doesn't dare to go too far." Hua Qi said. "They don't dare to go too far? With the Shifang Sword sect's current strength, it shouldn't be difficult to destroy the imperial family, right?" Chapter 214. Ever since he came to the imperial capital, he felt that the relationship between the imperial capital and the Decimo Sword sect was very subtle. It wasn't like the legends where the Decimo Sword sect controlled the imperial capital. The Decimo Sword sect has the strength, but they don't dare to. Although the imperial capital has declined, we are still the orthodox. If the Decimo Sword sect destroys the imperial capital, the other 4 sects will join forces and attack us. It's sad to say that the Decimo Sword sect isn't afraid of the imperial capital, but the other 4 sections. Hua Qi sighed. Lu Ming's heart moved. So that's why. However, the Decimo Sword sect is ambitious. They have been supporting their own people in the royal family. They want to slowly erode the resistance of the royal family. In the end, they will achieve their goal of complete control. At that time, everything in the royal family will really belong to the Decimo Sword sect. Now, the imperial capital is divided into 2 factions. One faction is determined to resist, but the other faction wants to join the Decimo Sword sect. They are a disgrace to the imperial capital, scum. Especially that sky-suppressing king. Hua Qi gritted his teeth. Lu Ming listened quietly. He didn't expect there to be so many secrets. Hua Qi clearly trusted him, which was why he told him so many secrets. "I originally wanted to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect and see if I can borrow the power of the Mystic Essence Sword sect to fight against the Decimo Sword sect in the future. Now, it seems that this method won't work at all. It's better to stay in the imperial capital and accumulate my strength. Lu Ming, I have a request and I hope you can agree to it." Speaking until here, Hua Qi suddenly bowed to Lu Ming. "What are you doing?" Lu Ming waved his hand and a force surged out, lifting Hua Qi up. "You're my friend. If you have something to say, say it," Lu Ming said. "Lu Ming, I hope you can help me. Help me destroy the Decimo Sword sect." Hua Qi's eyes flashed with shocking killing intent. "Help you destroy the Decimo Sword sect?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. "Lu Ming, I know that you are exceptionally talented and a dragon among men. In the future, you will definitely not be trapped in a small place like the Burning Sun Empire. You will have a broader stage. I will not ask you to join the royal family. I only hope that when you become powerful in the future, you can lend me a hand." Hua Qi said. "All right, I promise you." Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said. Firstly, Hua Qi was his friend. Also, his father, Lu Yuntian, might very well have fallen into the hands of the 10 Direction Sword sect. If that was true, then he and the 10 Direction Sword sect were mortal enemies. Sooner or later, they would have to fight, so there was no harm in agreeing to Hua Qi's request. "Good, that's great." Hua Qi was overjoyed. He was well aware of Lu Ming's talent. As long as Lu Ming continued to grow, it was possible for him to become a martial king in the future. With Lu Ming's help, great things could be expected. Naturally, he was excited. Hua Qi's hand moved, and a gold token appeared in his hand. He passed it to Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, you're now a member of the Stellar Cluster Hall. With this command token, you can enter and exit the Stellar Cluster Hall as you wish from now on, and you don't have to pay any fees. I can enter and leave the 7 great cultivation holy lands as I please." Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he received the golden token without any hesitation. Also, what's the stellar cluster hall? Lu Ming asked. Hua Qi wore a smile on his face, obviously much happier than before, as he said, Lu Ming, the stellar cluster hall is open to all kinds of people. With such low requirements, of course, it wouldn't be for no reason. Once a person enters the stellar cluster hall, the imperial family will send people to observe them, to determine if they are from the 5 top sects, and if they can be used by the imperial family. After a series of observations, it's confirmed that they can be used by the imperial family, and that they have great talent, they will be recruited into the stellar cluster hall. The stellar cluster hall is the core of the stellar cluster hall, and it will receive the full support of the imperial family. Currently, many of the generals guarding the border are from the stellar cluster hall, and it's also the trump card of the imperial family against the 10-direction sword sect. At this point, Hua Qi pursed his lips and continued, of course, there is another core of the stellar cluster hall, and that is the Dark Star Hall. What? The Dark Star Hall belongs to the imperial family? Lu Ming was shocked. The Dark Star Hall was as famous as the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, one of the 4 great assassin organizations of the Blazing Sun Empire. Lu Ming didn't expect the Dark Star Hall to belong to the imperial family. Lu Ming, not many people know about this, you must not speak of it, otherwise, the 10-direction sword sect might make a big move. Hua Qi said. Of course I won't. Lu Ming said. In fact, among the 4 great assassin organizations of the Blazing Sun Empire, 2 of them are nurtured by the 10-direction sword sect, and they are the Blood Rain Tower and Shadow Wolf Pavilion. The other one is the most mysterious, the King of Hell Manor, I don't even know who is behind it. Hua Qi said. What? The Shadow Wolf Pavilion belongs to the 10-direction sword sect? Lu Ming was shocked. The Duanmu family sent assassins from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion to kill him, and he thought that the Shadow Wolf Pavilion was supported by the Mystic Essence Sword sect. He didn't expect them to be supported by the 10-direction sword sect. If they belonged to the 10-direction sword sect, how could the Duanmu family order them around? Maybe the Shadow Wolf Pavilion would do anything for money, or maybe the Duanmu family and the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, or rather, the 10-direction sword sect had some kind of relationship. Lu Ming, what did you discover? Hua Qi asked. Nothing. Lu Ming shook his head and didn't tell Hua Qi his guess. Hua Qi, I also have something that I need your help with. Lu Ming's expression changed, and he suddenly said. What is it? As long as I can help, I will do my best to help, Hua Qi said. I need you to help me investigate a person, and that person is my father. Lu Ming didn't hide anything and told Hua Qi that Lu Yuntian might be in the imperial capital and in the hands of the 10-direction sword sect. There's actually such a secret, Lu Ming, don't worry, I will use all my power to help you investigate. As long as Uncle Lu is still in the imperial capital, I will help you find him even if I have to turn the imperial capital upside down. Hua Qi said resolutely. Thank you. With Hua Qi's help, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. He finally had some confidence in his heart. Hua Qi was the 8th prince of the imperial capital, and he definitely had a lot of power in the imperial capital. With his help, it was 1,000 times better than him investigating alone. Next, the 2 drank and chatted. Soon, after 3 rounds of wine, Lu Ming bid farewell to Hua Qi. Lu Ming, there's something that I almost forgot to tell you. 2 months later, the royal family and the Shifang sword sect will open a plane together to harvest the treasures and resources inside. Do you want to go with us then? There are treasures that can greatly help awaken the second bloodline. Hua Qi suddenly said. Treasures that can greatly help awaken the second bloodline? Of course I'll go. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The awakening of the second bloodline was of utmost importance, and any treasures that could help awaken the second bloodline couldn't be missed. Good, actually, you defeated Bai Qi, so there will definitely be a spot for you. Hua Qi said with a smile. Then Lu Ming took his leave and returned to the Star General Hall in Tianyan's appearance. I hope I can hear news about father as soon as possible. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the bed, thinking. He had a feeling that although the blazing Sun Empire seemed peaceful now, there were undercurrents surging. Various parties were fighting, and he didn't know when it would erupt. He had to find Lu Yuntian as soon as possible. Chapter 2:15. The next morning, Lu Ming walked out of his room. This time, his target was the Divine Wind Valley. 2 months later, if he wanted to enter the plane, he would definitely encounter the top geniuses of the 10-direction sword sect. He had to increase his strength as soon as possible. Now, there was still a long way to go for the fire force. 2 months was far from enough. Even if he cultivated in the Earth Force cave, it was still not enough. It was better to focus on comprehending the wind force. If he could reach the small success stage of the wind force, his battle strength would increase explosively in a short period of time. The Divine Wind Valley was located in a huge valley north of the Star General Hull. That's right, it was not a valley, but a valley. Among them, the valleys were densely packed and crisscrossed. There were many of them. If one looked down from the sky, they would discover that these valleys seemed to have been carved out by a peerless expert with a chaotic blade. In these valleys, violent winds howled and hurricanes swirled. Some of the hurricanes could even tear steel into pieces. It was extremely terrifying. However, it was also the best place to cultivate wind attribute martial skills and comprehend the wind force. When Lu Ming arrived at the entrance of the Divine Wind Valley, he could hear the howling of the wind inside. Lu Ming was not the only one who came here. At the same time, there were a few young men who came with him. Entering the Divine Wind Valley to cultivate is 10 spirit crystals a day. How many days do you need to go in? At the entrance of the Divine Wind Valley, a burly man looked at one of the young men and said coldly, 10 spirit crystals for a day, isn't that too expensive? The young man shouted. If you think it's expensive, then leave quickly. No one is begging you to come here to cultivate. The burly man glanced at the young man coldly. Then, he ignored him and looked at the others. The others were helpless and took out their spirit crystals. I need to cultivate for 10 days. A young man took out 100 spirit crystals and handed it to the burly man. Half a month for me, no, 10 days. Another young man took out 100 spirit crystals with a pained expression. The burly man's face darkened as he took them one by one and registered them. What about you? How many days do you need? The burly man looked at Lu Ming. Look at this. Lu Ming moved his hand and the golden token given by Huaqi appeared. When the burly man saw the golden token, his face suddenly changed. He revealed a gentle smile and said, please come in. You don't need to pay spirit crystals. Lu Ming put away the token and smiled faintly. It seemed that this token was really useful. It's not fair. One of the young men shouted. Shut up. The burly man shouted coldly, causing the few young men's expressions to change drastically. They shut their mouths and dared not speak, looking at Lu Ming with envy. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He touched his nose and strode into the Divine Wind Valley. Whoosh! Once he entered the Divine Wind Valley, he could feel a terrifying whistling sound. A gust of wind blew towards him, making Lu Ming's body feel like it was about to float. Lu Ming circulated his true qi and his body flashed. His body became as immovable as a mountain. No matter how strong the wind was, it could not move him. I just entered the valley and there's already such a strong gust of wind. This is indeed a good place to cultivate wind attribute martial skills and comprehend wind force. He did not stop and continued to walk forward. Soon, he reached the end of the valley. On his left and right, there was another valley. The gust of wind was even stronger. Lu Ming did not even think about it and chose the side with the strongest gust of wind. Just like that, Lu Ming turned left and right and walked through 7 or 8 valleys. Here, the gust of wind was very strong and terrifying. The strong gust of wind even condensed into wind blades in the air. The wind blades were like blades as they constantly collided with Lu Ming's body protecting true qi, causing ripples to appear on Lu Ming's body protecting true qi. What a terrifying wind blade! The wind blades here are already equivalent to a first-level martial master's full-strength attack. With so many wind blades, it was as if a large group of first-level martial masters were constantly attacking Lu Ming. The true qi in Lu Ming's body was rapidly depleting. Not only can I comprehend the wind force here, but I can also cultivate the ancient shield technique with half the effort. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, two ancient shields condensed in front of him. Clang! Clang! The wind blades constantly bombarded the shields, but the shields did not budge. The power is not enough. I'll go deeper. Lu Ming continued to walk forward and the wind blades became stronger and stronger. It was equivalent to a second-level martial master's full-strength attack, followed by a third-level martial master, a fourth-level martial master. After Lu Ming walked through more than 10 valleys, the power of the wind blades here was equivalent to a first-level martial master's full-strength attack. It was equivalent to a first-level martial master's attack. How terrifying was this? Even steel would be instantly torn to pieces. Most importantly, the wind blades here were not just one or two, but densely packed and unceasingly bombarded him. Clang clang, the wind blades bombarded the ancient shield, causing the sound of iron striking and sparks to fly in all directions. The ancient shield in front of Lu Ming trembled non-stop. Especially to guard against the wind blades coming from all directions, two ancient shields were not enough. Lu Ming's mind was completely immersed in it. He constantly controlled the ancient shield to fly up and down, blocking the wind blades while carefully sensing the changes in the wind around him. This was equivalent to Lu Ming cultivating the ancient shield technique while comprehending the wind force. Cultivating like this would allow one to improve at a terrifying speed. However, the consumption of Lu Ming's true qi was also extremely large. Even with Lu Ming's true qi that far exceeded that of an ordinary person, he had no choice but to leave after cultivating for an hour. If it was an ordinary person, it would be impossible for them to cultivate like this. After leaving, Lu Ming comprehended the 3 Dao palms while recovering his true qi. After recovering his true qi, Lu Ming entered the valley again and continued his high-intensity cultivation. A month later, the ancient shield technique broke through and entered the 3rd level. As for the wind force, his progress was also extremely fast. Although it had not reached the small success stage, it was not far away. As for the 3 Dao palms, he had not succeeded in cultivating it. However, Lu Ming felt that it would be soon. After cultivating for a month, I'll go out and rest for 2 days. Following which, Lu Ming left the Divine Wind Valley. Not long after returning to his residence, Ming Peak, Pearl, and Myongcheng found Lu Ming. Tianyun, everyone says that I'm a martial arts madman. I think you're even crazier than me. You're cultivating all day long and I can't even see your shadow. When Ming Cheng saw Lu Ming, he called out in a loud voice. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Big brother Tianyun, you're definitely going to enter the Blood Ant's secret realm this time, right? Ming Peak asked. Blood Ant's secret realm? Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. Then, he had a flash of inspiration. Chapter 216. Big brother Tianyun, don't you know? You're indeed a cultivation maniac. Ming Feng curled his lips speechlessly before continuing. The Blood Ant's secret realm is a plane jointly controlled by the imperial family and the Shifang sword sect. It opens once every 3 years. In a month, it will be the end of the 3 years. The Star General Hall has already given the order that anyone above the 3rd-level martial master realm, including 3rd-level martial masters, must participate. As for those below the 3rd-level martial master realm, if their battle strength has reached the 3rd-level martial master realm, they can also participate. Currently, many 2nd-layer martial masters are desperately cultivating, hoping to reach the 3rd-layer martial master realm and enter the Blood Ant's secret realm. After all, this is a great opportunity and no one wants to miss it. Big brother Tianyun, don't you know about it? After Ming Peak finished speaking, he curled his lips again. As expected, it's the same thing as Hua Qi, Lu Ming said in his heart. Of course I've heard about it. Of course I'll participate. Lu Ming smiled. In the Blood Ant's secret realm, cultivators above the 7th layer martial master realm will not be able to enter. At that time, with Brother Tianyun's strength, you will definitely reap a great harvest. However, you still have to be careful of the Shifang sword faction because every time, the disciples of the Shifang sword faction will wantonly hunt down the geniuses of the general hall. Pearl said in a deep voice. The Shifang sword sect better not provoke me. Otherwise, I'll kill whoever comes. Myongcheng coldly snorted, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he asked, those above the 7th layer martial master realm really can't participate? Yes, I've also heard about it. It's said that the secret realm is a newly born plane, probably around 10,000 years old. The laws of heaven and earth are not perfect. The higher the cultivation, the greater the rejection. Those above the 7th layer martial master realm will be rejected once they enter. Pearl explained. I see. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. If those above the 7th layer martial master realm couldn't enter, no matter how talented or strong the disciples of the Shifang sword sect were, he wouldn't be afraid. Tianyun, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Come, let's spar. At this moment, Myongcheng shouted. He stared at Lu Ming, full of fighting spirit. Sure. Lu Ming said with a smile. Then, they found a spacious area. A few minutes later. Tianyun, you pervert, I don't want to fight with you anymore, I don't want to spar with you anymore, you pervert. Myongcheng screamed miserably. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He looked at Lu Ming with resentment. Lu Ming was speechless. He thought to himself, you're the one who insisted on sparring with me. Ming Peak and Pearl were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had seen their big brother being beaten up so badly and screaming so miserably. He even shouted that he wouldn't spar with Lu Ming in the future. This was something that had never happened before. Don't, Brother Myongcheng, I've gained a lot from sparring with you. Let's continue another day. I'll go easy on you. Lu Ming said. My stomach hurts, I'm leaving first. Myongcheng almost cried. He clutched his stomach and ran away, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Behind him, Lu Ming, Ming Peak, and Pearl were dumbfounded. Is this still my big brother? Did I get the wrong person? Ming Peak muttered. Did you get the wrong person? Or is someone too perverted? Pearl rolled his eyes at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. During this period of time, the cultivation atmosphere in the General Star Hall was extremely dense. Everyone who had hopes of entering the Blood Ant's secret realm was bitterly cultivating, hoping to increase their battle strength and gain more in the Blood Ant's secret realm. Lu Ming rested for 2 days and returned to the Divine Wind Valley. He found that there were many more people cultivating in the Divine Wind Valley. In the crisscrossing valleys of the Divine Wind Valley, one could see a figure every once in a while. Lu Ming went to the place where he cultivated last time. There was no one here. No one could cultivate here. This was exactly what Lu Ming wanted. No one would disturb him. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the Blood Ant's secret realm to open. Lu Ming left the Divine Wind Valley a day in advance. The next day, he and Myongcheng arrived at the martial field of the General Star Hall. All the students of the General Star Hall who wanted to enter the Blood Ant's secret realm had to gather here. Soon, more than 120 people had gathered at the martial field. This was the total number of people entering the Blood Ant's secret realm. Every one of them had a cultivation between the 3rd and 6th level of the martial master realm. Swoosh! A few old men appeared in the air. I believe everyone knows a little about the rules this time. I won't go into the details. Now, I will talk about the most important points. One of the red-haired old men spoke. His aura was turbulent and his voice was like a bell. First, the Blood Ant's secret realm opens once every 3 years. This time, it is time for the Blood Ants to refine their eggs. The eggs of the Blood Ants are the best material to refine the blood refining pill. Every 3 eggs of the Blood Ants can be refined into a blood refining pill. As long as you hand over the eggs of the blood ants to the imperial family, you will receive half of them. That is to say, as long as you hand over 6 eggs of the blood ants, the imperial family will give you a blood refining pill. Blood refining pill, it's actually a blood refining pill? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, revealing a blazing light. Before a cultivator awakened their second bloodline, there would be a process of accumulation. What was accumulation? It was the accumulation of bloodline energy. The stronger the bloodline energy accumulated, the higher the grade of the second bloodline awakened. As for the blood refining pill, it was a treasure that could accumulate bloodline energy. Lu Ming finally understood. The treasure that Hua Qi had mentioned before was the blood refining pill. Not only Lu Ming, but the eyes of everyone present, including the geniuses who thought they could break through to the martial ancestor realm, were filled with a blazing light. As long as they obtained 6 eggs of the blood ants, they would be able to exchange them for a blood refining pill. Second, I must warn you, you must be careful of the disciples of the Shifang Sword sect. Every time the secret realm opens, the disciples of the Shifang Sword sect will hunt down the disciples of the General Hall. Killing and plundering are not prohibited in the secret realm, so you must be careful. The red-haired old man's voice sounded again, warning with a solemn expression. Humph, so what if they are geniuses of the Shifang Sword sect? Why would I be afraid of them? Some of the students were very confident as they spoke. Alright, that's all I want to say. The rest is up to you. Now, let's go to the blood ant secret realm. As soon as the red-haired old man finished speaking, a few screeches sounded in the sky as 8 large wind eagles descended. These 8 wind eagles were much larger than the ones that Lu Ming had seen in Dongke City. As the wind eagles descended, the crowd soared into the sky and leaped onto their backs. Following the 8 screeches, the wind eagles soared into the sky and headed north. The blood ant secret realm was located in the north of the imperial capital, about 20,000 miles away. It was said that the blood ant secret realm originally belonged to the imperial family, but the Shifang Sword sect took over a portion of its authority and requested to split the blood ant secret realm equally with the imperial family. Every 3 years, both sides would send their disciples into the blood ant secret realm to harvest the eggs of the blood ants. The eggs belonged to whoever obtained them. Chapter 217. The Decimo Sword sect was extremely powerful and had countless geniuses and masters. Even the Mystic Essence Sword sect was inferior to them, let alone the imperial family. Therefore, every time the blood ant secret realm opened, most of the blood ant eggs were taken by the Decimo Sword sect. The imperial family could only get a small portion. The wind eagle was extremely fast and it only took half a day to cover the distance of 20,000 miles. This was a rather desolate forest. There were bare stones everywhere, and only a few trees and weeds grew sparsely here and there. The wind eagle landed on a slightly flatter area. The red-haired old man and the others jumped down first. The others followed suit. The Decimo Sword sect is not here yet. Let's wait here. The red-haired old man said. Everyone nodded. Swoosh, at this moment, more than a dozen figures jumped high and landed on the 10 stone pillars on one side. They jumped on the stone pillars and sat cross-legged. Lu Ming saw the person on the outermost stone pillar at a glance. It was Bai Qi, it's the top 10 experts of the outer palace. Is this the gold pillar? It must be. But that Bai Qi still has the face to jump on it. Myeongchang and Tianyun are much stronger than him. How thick-skinned. There was a burst of discussion. Gold pillar? Lu Ming was puzzled. Brother Tianyun, there's nothing special about it. It's just an ordinary stone pillar. It's called the gold pillar because it's easier to see the secret realm from the top. Only the strongest can climb it every time. It's a symbol of strength. Myeongcheng explained. Oh? I see. Lu Ming nodded and then looked at the opposite side. There were more than a dozen stone pillars, but no one jumped on them. That's the Decimo Sword sect's territory. Those ascendant pillars belong to the Decimo Sword sect. Myeongcheng said. Lu Ming suddenly understood why no one jumped on them. Then, he glanced at the people on the stone pillars. These people were the top 10 experts of the outer palace of the Star General Hall. Bai Qi, you're really shameless. How dare you occupy a seeker pillar? Get down here right now. Miangcheng looked at Bai Qi and shouted. His voice rang out from afar, causing Bai Qi's face to turn red. Miangcheng. Bai Qi gritted his teeth angrily, but he didn't come down. Ha ha ha, Bai Qi, do you think you're an expert just because you're holding on? How shameless. Forget it, I won't fight with you. If you want it, I'll give it to you. Miangcheng casually waved his hand and sneered. Ha ha ha. The rest of the audience also burst into laughter. Bai Qi was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Lu Ming smiled. He had no interest in this kind of battle for empty fame. Shaking his head, he casually found a place to sit cross-legged and wait. 10 minutes later, several bird cries resounded through the barren mountain. 3 huge golden birds appeared in the sky. These 3 huge golden birds spread their wings and covered the sky. They were more than 100 meters long and were extremely terrifying. Their wings were golden as if they were made of gold. A powerful aura spread out and was as heavy as a mountain. Martial Ancestor Realm Demonic Beasts. Lu Ming's face changed. These are small golden rocks. It's said that they have the bloodline of the divine beast Golden Winged Rock. The Decimo Sword faction has such a strange beast and there are 3 of them. The number 1 sect of the Burning Sun Empire is really terrifying. Some of the students in the Star General Hall exclaimed in shock. Caw! The small golden rocks cried loudly and their voices pierced through the clouds and landed. Haha, Hua Feixiong, you're here early. A loud laugh came from one of the small golden rocks in the middle. Then, a few elders stepped down from the sky. Then, 3 young men with swords on their backs leaped down from the 3 small golden rocks. These young men and women were all dignified and had extraordinary auras. Each of them was like a divine sword and their sword chi pierced through the clouds. There were more than 360 people. So many people. The faces of the people in the Star General Hall changed. The red-haired elder's face was grave as he said, "They're just a few minutes early." The leader of the 10 Directions sword faction was a skinny old man. At this moment, his gaze swept across the group from the Star General Hall as he chuckled and said, "There seems to be a little more people this time around. Be careful not to let all of them die inside. Otherwise, the people that your Star General Hall recruited with great difficulty will suffer heavy losses." The red-haired elder's face darkened as he said coldly, "Akira no Ji, you don't have to worry about this." Huh, is that so? Then let's go and prepare together. Akira no Ji sneered. Let's go. The red-haired elder waved his hand and the other 2 elders followed him and flew into the depths of the barren mountains. Akira no Ji led the elders of the Decimo Sword faction into the depths of the barren mountains. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! Whoosh! After the elders left, the figures of the Decimo Sword faction flashed and dozens of figures leaped onto the observation pillars. Obviously, these people were the top experts of the Decimo Sword faction. Although their cultivation was at the 6th grade martial master realm, the aura they emitted was extremely terrifying. Brother Tianyun, do you see the person on the first stone pillar? Miangcheng asked Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked over. It was a handsome and cold young man in his early 20s. He wore a white swordsman's robe and carried a palm-wide sword on his back. Just sitting there casually, he gave off an extremely dangerous aura. Yes, even Lu Ming felt threatened. Is this person famous? Lu Ming asked. This person is called Yang Zaijian. He is an extremely terrifying genius of the Decimo Sword faction. When he was at the Martial Master realm, he was ranked first on the Decimo Sword faction's bronze list. When he was at the 9th grade Martial Master realm, he successfully comprehended Force. When he was at the 9th grade Martial Master realm, he killed many martial grandmasters. You must be careful when you encounter this person. Myeongchang said with an extremely solemn expression. There were very few people who could make Myeongchang so serious. The first on the Decimo Sword Faction's bronze list? Lu Ming whispered. The Decimo Sword Faction was the #1 sect of the Blazing Sun Empire. The first on the bronze list was definitely not to be underestimated. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with fighting spirit. Of course, other than this person, the Decimo Sword Faction has a few other people who are also extremely terrifying. Myeongchang said. Ha ha ha, there are quite a lot of people in the General Hall this time. 3 years ago, there were less than 100 people. This time, there are 120 people. At this moment, an ear-piercing voice sounded from the Decimo Sword Faction. Junior brother, you're wrong. What do you mean by 120 people? In my opinion, it's just 120 trash. Another voice sounded. Ha ha ha, senior brother is right. It's 120 trash. That's right. That's right. There was a burst of laughter from the Decimo Sword Faction. What did you say? Who's the trash? Someone in the General Hall was angry and shouted. Io, you're even angry. Am I wrong? 3 years ago, 98 people entered the General Hall and only 23 came out. If they're not trash, what are they? A young man with a crooked mouth from the Decimo Sword Faction walked out and looked coldly at the people in the General Hall. This time, you have more than 120 people. Don't all die in there. Chapter 218. The crooked mouth youth from the Decimo Sword sect looked at the people from the General Hall with disdain. Damn it! How dare you look down on us? The people from the General Hall gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. What are you looking at? Come at me if you want to fight. The crooked mouth youth looked at the people from the General Hall with provocation. Disdain, blatant disdain. The people from the General Hall were furious, but no one stepped forward. After all, the reputation of the Decimo Sword sect was not just for show. Humph, what a bunch of trash. The crooked mouth youth continued to provoke them. Damn it, I'll fight him. Myeongchang could not stand it anymore and was about to stand up. Brother Ming, wait a minute. He's deliberately provoking us to test our strength. Why fall for it? Lu Ming patted Myeongchang and said. Myeongchang sat down. Junior brother, I don't think you need to say anything. They're just a bunch of cowards and trash. No matter what you say, no one will dare to fight. A youth from the Decimo Sword sect shouted. A bunch of trash. The crooked mouth youth shouted. You've gone too far. Today, I'll have a taste of the Decimo Sword sect's skills. Finally, someone from the General Hall could not stand it anymore. He shouted and strode out. It's Mo Gang. He's going to fight. Mo Gang is a 6th grade martial master. He's ranked in the top 20 in the outer hall of the General Hall. With him fighting, we can see the strength of the Decimo Sword sect's disciples. Mo Gang walked out and the disciples of the General Hall began to whisper. Finally, someone with some guts. How about this, I'll let you have 3 moves. I won't fight back for 3 moves. The crooked mouth youth looked at Mo Gang with contempt. I don't need you to let me have a go. Take this. Mo Gang roared and a mountain-splitting axe appeared in his hand. Waving the mountain-splitting axe, Mo Gang slashed at the crooked mouth youth. The mountain-splitting axe slashed through the void and the space trembled like waves. If the axe slashed down, even a mountain would be split in half. Great! The people of the General Hall cheered in their hearts. They were waiting to see how the crooked mouth youth would let them have 3 moves. But in the next moment, their faces froze. The crooked mouth youth spun his sword and drew a circle. An invisible gravitational force was generated and Mo Gang's battle axe was bounced off the circle. Bang! 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 At the same time, Mo Gang took 3 steps back. How is this possible? Everyone in the Star General Hall was shocked. What a powerful defensive martial skill. Myongcheng said with a solemn expression. Profound grade upper grade martial skill, second level. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He could see the level of his opponent's martial skill and its maturity. 2 more moves. I've said it before. I won't fight back within 3 moves. The crooked-mouthed young man sneered disdainfully. I don't believe it. Mo Gang roared and swung his axe again. This strike was even more powerful, but it was useless. It was still deflected by the crooked-mouthed young man's sword. How could this be? Could it be that this crooked-mouthed youth is a top genius of the 10 Directions sword sect? Someone from the Star General Hall shouted in disbelief. They suspected that the 10 Directions sword sect had purposely sent a genius to attack them. You're thinking too much. Let me tell you, I'm nothing in the 10 Directions sword sect. There are many people stronger than me. The crooked-mouthed young man said calmly. Impossible. Take my third move. Mo Gang roared and his bloodline erupted. The muscles on his muscular body bulged as he swung his axe at the crooked-mouthed young man. This axe, Mo Gang used his full strength, erupting with his strongest move. Break. Mo Gang's eyes turned red. Break? Do you think you can break it? The crooked-mouthed young man sneered. His battle sword spun and his body was covered with rings of sword light. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions as the battle axe chopped down on it. As for Mo Gang, his body once again staggered backwards. How could this be? How could this be? Mo Gang roared in disbelief. You piece of trash! Die! Chi! The sword light flashed like lightning. Retreat! Someone from the Star General Hall shouted. However, it was too late for Mo Gang to react. Puchi! The sword light pierced through Mo Gang's throat. Mo Gang roared and fell to the ground. Mo Gang was killed. The people from the Star General Hall fell silent with a grave expression. You still say you're not trash. Now, the truth is in front of you. If you're not convinced, you can come up and fight. The crooked-mouthed young man looked around. The people from the Star General Hall were humiliated. The other disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect looked at the people from the Star General Hall in disdain. What a bunch of trash. The crooked-mouthed young man looked around and his gaze landed on the 10 pillars. You, get down here. The crooked-mouthed young man suddenly pointed at Bai Chi who was on the 10th pillar. Bai Chi's face stiffened. He squeezed out an ugly smile and cupped his fists. Senior brother, what can I do for you? His attitude was humble, hoping to gain the other party's favor. This made the others unhappy. Unfortunately, the crooked-mouthed young man did not buy it. He shouted, Who do you think you are? Do you think you can call me senior brother? Get down here right now. I'm taking your Realm Seeker pillar. What? You want the Observer pillar? Bai Chi was shocked and his face turned ugly. Don't go too far. The Observer pillar has been allocated between the Imperial family and the 10 Directions sword sect since ancient times. It represents the honor of the Imperial family and we can't give it to you. On another Observer pillar, a young man in a yellow robe shouted angrily. This young man was a member of the Imperial family. What honor? Today, you have to give it to me even if you don't want to. If you don't, I'll beat you until you give it to me. The crooked-mouthed young man sneered. Bai Chi almost cried. He was in a dilemma. If he did not give it to the Observer pillar, he would have to face the disciples of the 10 Directions sword sect. If he gave it to the Observer pillar, he would be destroying the Imperial family's honor. Everyone in the Star General Hall would despise him and he would never be able to raise his head in the Star General Hall. At this moment, he was filled with regret. If he knew this would happen, he would not have been so thick-skinned as to fight for the Observer pillar. Bai Chi, if you give it to me, you'll be a sinner of the Star General Hall. No one in the Star General Hall is afraid of death. At most, we'll fight. If we can't win, we'll die. I'll support you spiritually. Ming Cheng yelled in an unkind manner, pushing Bai Qi one step further into the fire pit. At this moment, Myung Cheng almost laughed out loud. I'll support you spiritually too. Lu Ming also shouted. Support your sister. Who wants to support you spiritually? Bai Qi roared in his heart. Lu Ming and Myung Cheng were obviously gloating over his misfortune. Please enlighten me, senior brother. Bai Qi had no choice but to bite the bullet and cupped his fists at the crooked-mouthed young man. Looks like you want to compete. Then let me see what you're capable of. I know you're one of the top 10 experts in the Star General Hall. The crooked-mouthed young man sneered. Suddenly, he moved and pounced at Bai Qi. White snake dragon palm, dragon transformation.